Many traditionalists are of the opinion that the Tridentine Mass is perfect and should never be changed or replaced. Yet the Tridentine Mass itself is the product of many historical changes and variations, and the Tridentine Mass itself replaced many other types of Mass before it. Is it a new development that people believe in an unchanging Mass, or have parishioners always railed against changes of any kind until they were forced to submit? P.S. Nothing has turned me off from Catholicism more than Pharisaical radtrads that harbor a hatred for normal Catholics. At what point is it right to tell them to lighten up?
Well, we'll answer the second question first.
Okay.
It's always appropriate to tell people to lighten up. I mean, I can remember being called a schismatic when I was in high school because I preferred the traditional Mass by my religion teacher, who went on a long railing thing. See, I'm old and I remember when this stuff happened. Believe me, the so-called normal Catholics, especially the Blueheads, if you show a preference for the traditional Mass, they'll be all over you like a cheap suit. It does work both ways, trust me. But to answer your question, not really, because the changes in the Mass that have taken place over time have usually been very gradual and over relatively minor things. In other words, you might find the Mass, as it was said in 1011, and as it was said in 1412, and as it was said in 1790, to be a number of textual differences. But the language would have been in Latin, and the priest would have been ad orientem.
No one ever grumbled over any of these changes?
Not really, because there weren't things. I mean, it's like when they brought in the last gospel.
Yeah, I mean, nobody grumbled over that?
Yeah, oh my God, we're going to spend another 2 minutes at Mass. I don't know how I can stand that. Well, no. Because you see, as Pope Benedict XVI has pointed out, what happened in 1969 was a radical reconstruction, unlike any other kind of changes the Mass has ever seen before. Now, it is true you'll find people who are not very well educated and will think, well, the Mass has always been the way it was in 1962 or 58 or 41 or whatever they want. That's not true, obviously. But the changes were minimal. What was done in the 60s was a radical hatchet job. And if you lived through it, having been told most of your life that the Mass was unchanging by the clergy, and then to have them turn around and tell you, now we're changing everything. It's a little bit like your parents turning into drunks. And what do we find with children of alcoholic parents? It's often very difficult for them to be pleasant people, especially when you're bringing up booze. You know, they may be okay with everything else, but you start opening a trap about, oh, the new Beaujolais is wonderful. Don't do that. You'll find a perfectly nice person suddenly turned as, you know what booze did to my family? So the lightening up has to be all across the board. It really does. When you meet older trads, they've been through hell. And I know, because I was through it. I saw it. I lived through it. When you meet older quote-unquote normal Catholics, the way they'll explode at any attempt to bring back any remnant of tradition, which is something we have to do if we're to believe Benedict XVI, is nothing short of astonishing. My nephew, I have quite a number of them, as longtime watchers will know, but the one who's a church musician and organist and all that, he was playing for one parish, and he began bringing back some traditional music. And there was a revolt of the Blueheads. Oh, well, the bad words were said to him. You know, little old ladies using F-bombs.
What songs specifically?
Oh, Lord, I am not worthy.
It wasn't even Gregorian chant?
No. Yeah,
Wow, dude, that's really bad.
I thought so. And of course, my nephew, being himself and not me, was very courteous.
Yeah.
Had it been me, I would have said, "You're showing your age, Grandma." But see, these things really happen to me. I find in life, it's funny. Those sorts of people know who they can prey on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Come here and say that, old lady. Come here, get that mouth moving.
No,
Doesn't
people
happen.
sense weakness and they jump on it. I think I have an agreeable nature to it, and I kind of am too nice, and then people jump all over you. You got to watch out for that,
Well, you do, especially if they're elderly.
especially if they're elderly. Yeah.
Because see, you know what's funny, ladies and gentlemen? Elderly does not mean to me what it means to you.
Okay.
Tell you what I mean. And this also reflects becoming elderly, just so you know. You live in the world of your childhood and youth, mentally. That's what actually is the prism through which you see everything.
That's your normal. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your normal.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to say that there's a particular year, even, which is your normal.
Yeah.
For me, it's 1964.
1994 for me.
There you go. 30 years difference. Now, the old people of my time, the people I thought it was the old people, their year was 1904.
Okay. Okay.
The current old people, it's 1968. See, where I was dealing with the people who listened to Tin Pan Alley, those are the old people of my childhood. The old people of today are my older brothers who are still rocking out. All the leaves are gone, and the skies are gray, and the skies are gray, like my hair. What? Anyway, the point is that these are not your grandmother's old people.
Right.
And that's why when I see an old woman say, or an old man, but particularly old women, it's really ugly, using foul language, it's hard for me because she looks like the old people of my childhood, but they didn't have mouths like that.
Right.
And yet at the same time, they still think that being elderly means they should have some sort of deference given them. Stupidity at any age doesn't really deserve deference. And hostile stupidity really doesn't deserve. I mean, look, if somebody is pleasant and stupid, well, how many feet do I have? You have 2. Oh, thank you. Okay, well, he's stupid. But,
Yeah. This is, yeah.
But on the other hand, if I say, you're such a dum-dum, you think I got 2 feet? Oh, what do you call these, moron?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Cale, to have taken up your time with that display of insanity, but it was actually there was a point to it, and the point is, your encounters with obnoxious trads, and trust me, I've encountered them too, but they're not the ones who put us in the situation we're in. They're not the ones who run the show. They're not the better part of the Episcopate. So, and when you look at obnoxious and annoying trads, you've got to look at them as you would the adult children of alcoholics.
Yeah.
And there you go.